Well, hello, everybody. Welcome. Hey, this is the perfect bearing problem for those of you trying to learn bearings. Here's what it is. We've got this road. It's going through Mordor. It's going to pass through some dead marshes right in here, all kinds of traps and stuff to get you. There's a road that's been built around it. We've got a couple questions about this situation right here. We'll dive into the details of that in just a minute, but I want to tell you how this thing's going to be played out for us here, right? There's going to be timestamps in the description. You can navigate to whatever part you want, but I think if you are a student learning this, I would like to explain why this is such a good problem and some of the things that you experience when you get stuck and what it really means to maybe better equip you to handle those kinds of difficulties. Then we'll get into the problem. There's 3 questions. We're going to talk about each of them in their own. We'll wrap it up, make sure you got some clear takeaways, and then at the end I've got a message for teachers. So let's go ahead and dive into why I think this is such a great problem. This problem exposes lots of misconceptions and some bad habits. And it's only when your misunderstandings are put in front of you and exposed that you actually have a chance to really learn. But that does come at a cost. That cost is confusion. Confusion's all fine and dandy, but a lot of the time it leads to anxiety, and that's not so good. That's not so productive. So let's talk about what that confusion really is to see if you can get ahead of it. What confusion is you have held something in your mind to be true and you just found out that it isn't. And that's a conflict. That is what causes the confusion. You, in other words, misunderstood something, but you didn't know it. But now, all of a sudden, you do. That's what confusion is. It's beautiful because you can fix it. That's why I always say the road to understanding is through confusion. And I know it feels like this. It's not really that way, though. It's more like this. The learning builds the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. But to have the experience of learning like that, you have to get there. You have to take yourself there. What I mean is, if you're driving, you're the one making all the decisions. You're the one responsible. You're the one having to decide which way to go. And if it doesn't work out, you're the one who's got to fix it. If you're the passenger, man, you're on easy street. When you're watching a video or taking notes in a lesson or getting help from a friend, you're in the back seat. You're going to have to get behind the wheel and do the driving to get there. What I mean is, you've got to take some risks. You've got to try these kinds of problems on your own from beginning to end. So go ahead and try this one right now. Go ahead and pause this video. Check the description and I've got some links in there. One, you can download a PDF of the question. Another, there's a Google form quiz that walks you through this question so you can answer it. But go ahead, try this one right now, and then we're going to get to it, right? So we're going to unpack this one in about, 2 seconds from now. Let's go ahead and dive in. So we did the explanation of what's going on. So let's go ahead and talk about part 1. So we've got our road to Mordor, and it's passing through the dead marshes right here. And there's a road that goes around. And the very first question is, hey, which way is faster? Is the road faster or is through the marsh faster? So in order to answer that question, what is it we have to be, what information do we have to find? So what is being asked in a roundabout way? Well, that would be, what is the straight line distance from P to Q? This distance right there. Well, that makes a triangle for sure. It's probably not a right triangle. We do know that one side's 85, one side's 60. We got to find the third. That's probably going to be the cosine rule. So let's go ahead and plug in the stuff we know and see what it is we have to figure out. Well, I need to know this angle A. And the reason I need angle A is because the side I need is opposite of A. Yeah. So what do you think A is? Leave me a comment. What do you think A is? How's this one going, right? Okay, now, before we get into what A is, let's talk about a really common mistake that a lot of students make. They know that A is this part right here, and so they're thinking, hey, A has got to be 70 degrees because there's a 290 marked right there, and, 70 plus 290, that's 360, right? Well, it's true. 70 plus 290 is 360. However, 290 is this. Bearings start from true north. Go counterclockwise. So this is 290 degrees, which means the 70-degree angle is right here. we still need to figure out this part in order to figure out what angle A is. So let's zoom in. Check this out. Here's the fact that we have to know. We have to keep in mind that north is parallel to north. So that side that's marked 60 that connects those 2 points, well, that's a transversal, right? Now, up here, that's 145 degrees because the bearing is 215. To make the full circle, you subtract 360 minus 215, you get 145 degrees. And these two angles right here, they're called co-interior, so they're supplementary. Well, 180 minus 145 is, of course, 35, which makes this angle down here, angle A, 70 plus 35, which is 105 degrees. So we now know that angle A is 105, and we can plug all that wonderful stuff into our calculator. Rounding to the nearest kilometer, we find out that this distance across the marsh is 116 kilometers. All right. Now, we did all that so we can just barely get the information we need to answer the question. Which path is faster? Well, distance equals rate times time, so the amount of time taken would be distance divided by rate. The straight through, well, that would be 116 kilometers divided by 2. That path would take 58 hours, whereas if you took the road, well, that's 145 divided by 5. That's 29 hours, so the road's twice as fast. All right, there's part 1 right there. Let's go ahead and move on to part 2 now, shall we? So part 2 says, what is the bearing of P from Q? Man, when things are worded that way, it's kind of confusing because we don't usually speak that way. We would usually say Q to P. The way we think about it is you're standing here, and what's the bearing from here to P? So why is it we go this way instead of this direction? Well, just like in the last example, the reason why we go this direction from here clockwise is because that's how bearings are defined. They're clockwise from true north. So we have to figure out that angle right there. So 215 is the bearing to the road. We have to figure out to Q. So we have to figure out this other part right here, X. So we have to go from here all the way around and add X. So 215 plus that angle marked X, that will be our bearing. All right, so let's see if we can figure this out. We found out a minute ago that this angle right here was 105. So it looks to me like I've got an angle and its opposite, another angle that I need and its opposite. That is the sine rule. Pretty cool. We've got cosine rule. Now we've got sine rule. We're going to solve this for the side. All right, so we just set up our ratio, right? The sine of 105 over 116 kilometers is equal to the sine of the unknown angle, right? Divided by 85. Solve by using arc sine, and if we round to the nearest angle, we get 45 degrees. So, as we said, P from Q is going to be 215 plus that angle X, so 215 plus 45 is 260. So, that angle right there, that bearing is 260 degrees. All right, there's part 2. Let's go ahead and move on to part 3, shall we? So, part 3 says that there's a house somewhere directly west of point P. This goes west right here. So west to point P would be somewhere over there. And we're going to call that point K. And we have to figure out what is this angle right here. All right. So one of the reasons this is a cool problem for bearings is we've used law of sines. We've used the law of cosines, sine rule, cosine rule, one to find a side, one to find an angle. Now we got something else to figure out. So let's see what clues we have. We knew this distance was 116. The distance itself isn't all that important, but it's going to help us find two lines that are parallel. That's kind of cool. We know that the angle down here is 105. So let's go ahead and start exploring this. We know this is 260 degrees right here. That means that there's 100 degrees left right here. And because north is parallel to north, 180 minus 100 is, of course, 80 degrees. Now, north is perpendicular to west. That makes that 90, right? And since I know that this is 45 and this is 105, well, 105 plus 45 is 150. 180 minus 150 is 30. So this angle right here, well, all four of these, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, all four of those would add up to 360. So if I take 360 and subtract the 90, the 80, and the 30, I get 160 degrees left. So the last angle that we have to find, KPR, KPR, 160 degrees. So there we go. That's all of it. Now, to wrap up, confusion leads to learning. So you've got to be patient. You got to be calm. It's almost never the case that it's just a step or a procedure that got you into trouble. It's almost always that you're not understanding or making use of important key information. So you have to be really careful about when and how you ask for help. You've got to be the one doing the driving. Hey, I really do hope this was helpful for you guys. If it was, like, subscribe, share, leave me a comment, all that kind of stuff. Let me know how it's going. And then yeah, we're going to move on. So I've got one last thing for teachers. Hey, I would like for you to have access to this lesson and these questions. So I will leave links in the description so you can get those things for free. I'd also encourage you to check out my Substack. I've got a weekly math for fun problem. I use them in my classroom. I just do them for fun. There's no assignments. There's no extra credit. Some kids do them, some kids don't, but the number of kids that do them is growing. And we're doing math for fun. It's kind of turning things on its head. My website got all kinds of stuff there for math teachers. Teachers Pay Teachers site as well. Anyway, I hope this was helpful for you guys. Until next time, have a great day.